Well, I have the tape removed from around the edges and cleaned up. I'm not going to get too carried away on this. It's going to be on the inside. You can't see it. There's another spot down here up near the head. The thing for the brake set's right here. I had to take it off. It's this thing. I got to put it back in. And then right here is where the key switch goes. But I had to back it up under here because there was a piece that was missing right there. So I'll use some fairing compound to fill this in. Make it look, you can see the old crack. I might trim it up with a knife or something. I'm not going to get carried away. And then down here is a hole for a pin that I got to replace. So, and here's those studs that I gel magicked and glass tape around them. Oh, this one's got glass tape. This one? Yeah, that one does too. Okay. And then up in here, there was a piece. This is the piece that we drilled and had those nylon ties on. And so that's back in place. And then I got some, I don't know how much damage there is on this end here. Yeah, I was having some problems with the focus there. Hopefully I'll cut that out. But on the inside, I gel magicked it. Then yesterday I put in 2 layers of glass cloth up along that seam to protect it on the inside. So we had to clean that up now. And then on the other half panel, I had to put this stud back in. And then yesterday I put some glass tape around it. And that too has a hole I'll have to fill in here. Yeah, you can see in there. And then up here, there that was a crack. I'll clean that up, maybe. Yeah, I can probably scrape that off. It was another thing that needed a layer of glass tape on the inside. So let me go ahead and clean all that up. Well, this was in 2 pieces, and this is the outside part, and I had to drill some holes and use some little wire ties to hold it together, and some clamps while I glass the other side. Let me flip it over and show you. While I had it zip tied together, I put a couple pieces of cloth up here and then down here and down in here to kind of hold it together, and while the epoxy cured. And then I cut the cord or the zip ties off and cleaned it up, and then put down a layer of cloth. You can see some remnants of blue tape along in here, which I used to make my cut edge to. And then down in here there was a little piece missing, and I had it glassed over, and then when I flipped it over, I had put the little piece back in and clamped it down. It's a little rough. Oops, a little rough in here. I could probably file that down or just not give a damn. This panel is pretty much all together. Everything on the back side has been put in. That part up here has been glassed on the inside back together. But down here I have a little tab I have to make to match up the one that's over here. So I'll probably, get back over here, put some sort of, I don't know, maybe a piece of cardboard or something in, and then glass one side and then glass the other one. Probably put 2 or 3 layers, well, 3 or 4 layers of glass, and then that should be enough to stiffen it up, and then where I can drill a hole and put one of those clips in. Finally come up with a way to secure this joint right here where it was broken. Yesterday I mixed up some gel magic and put in here, and then put some glass cloth over the top of it and kind of compressed it down a little bit. So, and I keep talking about gel magic, and that's a tube of it. System 3 makes it, and it has up in here I have this. It's called a Dracula attachment, fangs, and you can't get them anymore. And you put this whole thing in a caulking gun, and you just squeeze it out. And the way this tube is set up, you can see the blue in here and then the white. Where the hell did the white go? It's down in here. Comes out in a 2-to-1 mixture. And so if you need a lot, you can make a lot. If you need just a little squirt, you can squirt out just a little bit. And they also make mixing nozzles that fit on the end of it that I usually use when I'm doing boat work and when I'm attaching you know, the whole panels together on what I call a jump stitch, or when I'm jump stitching the interior panels to the hull. So carry on. And these little standoffs right here were broken off, and I didn't see them at first because the brake was so clean flush with the bottom here, and they were stuck on screws on the hood panel. So I put some gob of gelled magic and stuck them in place and let them cure overnight. And then I came back the next day and I wetted out just a little bit of glass cloth and made a spitball and stuck in between the big one and the little one. And then I came back and then I wrapped it around with some more glass cloth, so I don't worry. I probably could have just got away with the gel magic and it would have held forever. And this tab and this partner on the other side, I gel magic back in place, and then I put a layer of glass cloth. There may be 2 layers of glass cloth wrapped around them. That was a little trick. I had to use a bunch of my little tiny clamps there to hold the glass down so it wouldn't lift. And the last thing I got to set up and do here is the nose, which is broken off. I can't remember where I put the other piece at, but it's comes out into here. That'll be our next assignment. On this tab on this side that's broken off, the one that'll match this one here, I've put a piece of wood wrapped in visqueen, and there's 2 layers of glass cloth underneath of it. And then I've got a couple more pieces, small pieces, where they are. Small pieces here I'll put on. Let me go ahead and wet it out. I'll show you what I've got when I come back. I mean, it's basically I'm just wetting it out and adding more glass to the pile. Well, as you can see, it's starting to come together. I got this piece back on. There was a real problem over here. It was all smashed up, and I had to put some gel magic on it and then cover it with plastic. That's where this red paint came from. I got to sand off and clamp it down flat before I could add this. And then behind there was some little strips of glass cloth I'll show you in a second, and then a larger piece that goes across. This part up in here, this was all broken out, and so I was able to gel magic it back in place and then glass cloth everything back together. And then this up here was okay, but this side has, you can see, little tabs, and this side doesn't. So I've got to take some glass cloth and build up some little tabs in here to make that work right. And this is on, and then this is where I had to glass on these things on both sides. And here on the side I've got some glass cloth. I think there's about 3 layers of glass cloth on the inside, and I'll have to use some Ferrin compound on the outside to build this back up. But I'm not going to do that until I fill this crack in, which I've got some 2mm plywood, which I'll use as a substrate to fill in for strength, and then glass on the inside. This side is completely broken off along in here, so I've got to do that. But you can see on the inside here where I had to put in a whole layer of cloth from up in here all the way down to the nose. So, and that one was undamaged, so let me tip down here. Now I've got this part back together. This is the one we had to, it was split in half and I glassed back together. So it's on and tentatively bolted in place. I had to pull all the panels off on the ass end because this one that goes in here goes in first before everything in behind goes on. And I also wanted to keep it off until I could get the engine started, or to see if it will start. And if it doesn't, then it gives me a little more coverage for where to get to it. But it's coming together. I have no idea what down in here I'm going to do. I may have to glass this wedge in here to force this panel out. This is the one that we had to glue back on, gel magic, and then put in the glass cloth on the inside. So It's bent in a little bit. I have to may have to make a couple more wedges to fit in here and glass those in just to keep its shape. So yeah, and it kind of clears that there's that one round plate that we bolted up underneath on the forks, which is kind of like a splash deflector, and this thing fits around it on the was it on the bottom? Underneath the splash deflector. So let me go back to doing something else. This, I don't know, this may be the end of this video. I got, yeah, we'll see.